Through hard work, he was ultimately able to build his force up to 64 officers and 1,500 men, manning 100 cannon, howitzers and mortars.
It was playing Age of Empires live.
Right?
Hello guys.
Hi everyone.
I am Valdemar.
And I'm Veronica.
And welcome again in our another daily reaction. This time, finally, it's a historical video after some break. We had some stand-ups, and then we had some stand-ups too. And after that,
We had some more stand-ups.
No, after that we had some comedy videos.
Yeah, so now today is time to learn a little bit, and we're watching the Epic History channel. We already have one video from them uploaded with the speech of Alexander the Great.
Yes, I didn't like this video.
Yeah, it was one that Voldemort didn't like. They said that they were contradicting each other, and it wasn't clear, and he was also questioning some information that was there.
The quality of the video was very good. Like, it was very engaging and interesting to listen. Especially, it was a long video. So that's not an easy thing to achieve. But I had the problem with the speech itself, or at least the way it was presented, because you need to see this reaction. It's somewhere here. You will know what I mean. But at the end, the narrator, he contradicts himself about what Alexander meant when he was saying...
like the circumstances of the event, I think that's what happened. But today we're giving the channel another chance, and we're watching their most recommended to us series.
Like you.
a lot of you guys asked us to watch this channel even before we watched the speech, and their series about the Napoleon is apparently the best one out there. So we're gonna give it a try. We're not gonna tackle one of those long, because they have compilations of the videos and they're like 4 hours long. Mm-hmm. So we're not gonna tackle that, because I don't think you would be able to watch an 8-hour reaction from us, considering we usually double the time of the video. But they have also this chronological playlist. So I just took the first video, the oldest one, and if you like this and if we like this, then we're gonna go ahead. We'll see. But for today, we're watching the first victory of Napoleon, the Siege of Toulon, 1793.
Yeah, exactly.
And how much do you know about Napoleon?
I watched an oversimplified video about him. I watched this unfortunate movie.
Yeah.
We watched it together, right?
We didn't like it very much, though.
Of Ridley Scott. Horrible.
Not a very good movie. I know that, and also a little bit from books, because a lot of books that I read are from that time, like from the beginning of the 19th century. So there's usually some mention of Napoleon.
War and Peace is about Napoleonic Wars?
Yeah, there's a lot of mention of Napoleon.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You're reading it right now, right?
I am reading it right now, but
it takes
that's
some
a snail
time.
pace.
It takes some time.
It's really engaging. It really is. It's just a lot. It's a big book. But this is not about the book. Yeah. This is about Napoleon and his first victory.
Exactly.
Big victory.
Just quickly, I will just say we started a new channel, movie reaction channel. You can check it out. It should already have a video on this channel. If not, it will be there very, very soon. I don't know when we will upload this video.
And when it's
this here.
And when it's there, you can see it in the description. You can see it at the end of the video. You can see it in our channel description, and then you can go and check it out. There will be video reactions there, movie reactions there every week on Fridays.
Yes. And also you can check out our Patreon, because we just started it, and
we have some fun tires.
Yes, and it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory.
Let's see.
Supported by our sponsor, Osprey Publishing.
He has a good voice for this kind of videos.
He's like very
motivational. Like those old documentaries.
Yeah, like those old documentaries, you're right.
In the summer of 1793, the French Revolution was entering its 4th year, and France was on the verge of anarchy. In Paris, political extremists had seized control of the revolution. They guillotined the king and imposed a reign of terror that dealt summary justice to all suspected enemies of the revolution. Hoping to unify the new republic, France's leaders had declared war on the Habsburg Empire. But the conflict quickly widened, and soon France was facing the combined might of Europe's leading powers, determined to stamp out her dangerous political experiment. Meanwhile, whole regions of France had come out in open revolt, horrified by the new extremism of the revolution. In August, the Republic suffered a further, potentially fatal blow when the city of Toulon joined the revolt. Toulon was France's largest and most important naval base in the south, home to a third of the entire French Navy.
That was a lot.
But now, rebels welcomed their old enemy, the British Royal Navy, into the port, led by Admiral Lord Hood, aboard HMS Victory. It was an extraordinary coup. Without a shot being fired, the Allies had crippled French naval power in the Mediterranean and gained a vital toehold on the French coast.
Yeah, I wanted to say it's much different than the other videos, historical videos that we watch when, where you have the animations and they're trying to be funny. But this one, it's done really well because of the music and his voice. I'm just really into it, It's I think it's done really well because there was scarcely any introduction. I don't have that much background. It was just very quickly reminded you where it takes place in history. But I am already sucked in. And the emotions are really high, right? Like when he's describing these battles, it seems very epic.
It's very good.
And it's a different tone than the other videos.
One thing that is lacking for me personally is, because I like watching documentaries, but I like to see like some footage from that time. But I understand, that from the period of Napoleon there is no footage. But then I like it, but I know that it's not possible here. I like when they have some inscenizations, like actors,
Yeah, but it's not that high budget.
Yeah, it's not that high budget, so it's good. Like the only thing that is lacking for me is the visual cues.
Aspect, yeah. But the paintings are doing a decent job.
Yeah. Like considering the budget, definitely.
All French forces in the area were immediately diverted to face this new threat and lay siege to the rebel port. 19,000 troops in all. But since most French officers had been aristocrats who were now fleeing the revolution in large numbers, they were seriously short of professional leadership. Their commander, General Jean-François Carteau, was a loyal Republican, but a court painter by trade with no military training. To make matters worse, one of his few professional officers, his artillery commander, Colonel Don Martin, had been badly wounded on the approach to Toulon. Antoine Salicetti, a Corsican deputy of the National Convention in Paris, recommended as his replacement a fellow countryman, a 24-year-old artillery officer who was passing Toulon en route to the front, named Napoleon Bonaparte, or Bonaparte. Bonaparte was a professional soldier, but he'd seen almost no active service. Nevertheless, Salicetti was impressed by his manner, and most of all, his politics. Bonaparte had just written a political pamphlet, a short story about a young artillery officer who berates his fellow diners for their disloyalty to the Republic. General Carteau thought it wise to accept Deputy Salicetti's recommendation. The great port of Toulon was well defended by city walls and a dozen outlying forts and redoubts. They were held by 2,000 British soldiers and sailors, 6,000 Spanish troops, 6,000 Neapolitans, and 800 Sardinians. Artillery would be the key to overcoming these formidable defences. But when Bonaparte was put in command of the artillery on the 16th of September, he found himself with few cannon, not enough trained gun crews, and a shortage of gunpowder and shot. With relentless energy and determination, Bonaparte transformed the situation, requisitioning unused guns, training infantrymen to work them, setting up a new forge and workshop, and arranging transport from Marseille of 100,000 sandbags for constructing new batteries. Through hard work, he was ultimately able to build his force up to 64 officers and 1,500 men, manning 100 cannon, howitzers and mortars. Within days...
Dude was playing Age of Empires live.
Right?
Like literally, you have because in Age of Empires you have like one capitan or general or something like that, and he's sent in some place with like a task, and then he somehow has some people around him, and they build him a forge, artillery, and stuff like that.
It's like that in the game.
Yeah. And also, I would to say how interesting it is, when you look at the history, and that's why I like history so much. It's so interesting when you see like the whole picture. Like there are so many situations throughout the history that seemed like fate was conducting the turn of events.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see with characters like Napoleon, for example, like history could go very, very differently, and we could never hear about Napoleon if he weren't in the area at the time, and if he wasn't recommended, because it's not like he was set out to do those things, like when you have some kings, you were born son of the king, and you knew that you're gonna be a king, and then you did some victories, you conquered some land, then you're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're raised to do it.
Yeah, it was meant to happen, like it was basically your destiny from the day you were born. But there are many people, who would never be known to us nowadays if it weren't for like a small detail.
Yeah, because it seems like it was mostly because he was recommended. I mean, he had the chance to impress those people. He published this pamphlet that he mentioned, but I'm sure other people did as well. And I don't know if this one thing would have been so exceptional. I mean, some people have this kind of charisma that you just think that it would not be possible for them to not reach something. Like that they would have done something anyway. But I think you're right that the coincidence plays some part in it as well.
Yeah. Like Hitler, for example, is the best example of that, being nobody, like basically nobody. And then one day he happens to be in the beer hall, and they have a political rally because the military sent him there to take notes, like basically like a spy, and only because of that he came there, and he was like, oh, I like what they are saying. I will say something too. And then bam, you have the Second World War, the biggest conflict in history. And if he weren't there that day, he would probably spend the rest of his life being a spy for the military on, I don't know, painting again. Who knows? Yeah,
maybe. Would he? If you guys have any thoughts about this, then maybe we can discuss that in the comments. Would he find another way then? And are some people just like so focused on achieving something that they would have anyway, or how do you think the coincidence plays in that?
It's very interesting if you believe in like an alternative universes,
yeah.
Like how could the things went differently there? Yeah, crazy.
Bonaparte had established 2 new forward batteries with good revolutionary names, La Montagne and Sans Culottes, which brought Toulon's inner harbour within range and forced Admiral Hood to move all his ships closer to the port. Bonaparte also came up with a plan, one that would allow the French to bypass most of Toulon's defences and secure the rapid victory the Republic so desperately needed. Bonaparte argued that if Fort L'Aiguillette could be captured, which looked out across the harbour, he could fill it with heavy guns and shell the British and Spanish fleet at anchor. Admiral Hood would be forced to abandon the port and take with him the Allied soldiers that Toulon relied on for its defence.
But
General Carteau saw the merits of Bonaparte's plan, and on the 22nd of September, French forces attacked Montcaire. But to Bonaparte's exasperation, while he'd argued for an attack by 3,000 men, the indecisive Carteau committed only 400. Not only was the attack easily repulsed, but it alerted the Allies to the danger. Within 48 hours, they'd reinforced Montcaire with thousands more troops and built a new fort named Fort Mulgrave, bristling with 20 cannon.
Please.
Okay.
The position was now so strong, the French nicknamed it Little Gibraltar.
I thought it was a quote, but Bonaparte too.
Finally, in mid-November, an experienced professional soldier arrived to take...
I'm making a joke again of Trump, but I saw the video today when he said that he would be his choice to be the next pope. And the journalist asked him who he would prefer to be a pope.
Yeah, he said me.
And he said, yeah, me.
Yeah, I would like to be the pope as well. I don't think I would refuse if I was offered. Just so everyone knows that this is an option too.
Under French forces, General Dugommier. He saw at once that Bonaparte's plan was the only way to take Toulon, and gave it his full backing. Bonaparte, promoted to major, got to work, overseeing construction of several more batteries in preparation for the decisive assault. One forward battery was so exposed to enemy fire that men refused to be sent there. So Bonaparte renamed it La Batterie des Hommes Sans Peur, the battery of men without fear. And suddenly, there was no shortage of volunteers. It was an early display of Napoleon's genius for inspiring his soldiers, one that would serve him well in the years ahead. On the 30th of November, the Allied Land Forces commander, British General Charles O'Hara, tried to seize back the initiative, leading an assault on the new French batteries facing Fort Malbousquet. At first, the attack was successful. The batteries were overrun, the French guns spiked. But a counterattack with much greater numbers, and led in person by General Dugommier and Major Bonaparte, drove back the Allies.
When did he become major? He was captain a moment ago.
General O'Hara himself was shot through the hand and captured. 12 years before, he'd surrendered to George Washington at Yorktown during the American War of Independence. Now he got to surrender to Napoleon Bonaparte.
That's mean.
But that's a good, interesting CV.
In the early hours of the 18th of December, howling wind and driving rain, the French launched a major assault on Fort Mulgrave. The wet conditions made muskets useless except as clubs or with bayonets. Bonaparte led the second wave in person. Amid fierce hand-to-hand fighting, his horse was killed under him, and he was bayoneted in the thigh by a British sergeant, a wound that came within inches of ending his life and radically changing the course of history.
Well, it must feel like to be
Finally, the Allied garrison was overwhelmed.
Especially later.
Mulgrave fell to the French. Fort L'Aiguillette and Tour de la Balaquière were soon also in French hands. By the following afternoon, the French had 10 heavy guns in L'Aiguillette, placing the Allied ships within range.
So exactly like
Admiral Hood could not expose his valuable ships of the line to such a threat. He had no option but to order an immediate evacuation of the fleet and garrison from Toulon. Small Spanish and British teams raced to destroy all the French ships and naval stores that they couldn't take with them. But amid the chaos of their departure, 18 ships of the line were allowed to fall back into French hands. a badly missed opportunity.
I wonder how they plan to escape from there, because there's the passage and they would have to pass directly by where they are shooting, so it would be quite difficult to escape with ships, right?
I don't know how big it is, but I assume it's pretty big.
Yeah, but I thought if maybe because I'm just looking at the illustration, because if the ships as they're standing now are in range, then they would still have to be in range, because they could be only getting closer.
Yeah, but I think the difference is that they are staying in port, in one place.
But they are not moving that fast, right? Or they are at that time?
Pretty fast.
I know I'm very interested how that works, because I know the bombarding equipment, I guess it takes time to load and reload and aim, so it's not like you can keep shooting it like a machine gun and changing the position. But still, like, a ship is big and it's not that fast, so how can it escape from range?
Yeah, but it's not like one shot from the artillery.
It's enough to
sink a ship as big as those ships.
Maybe I'm thinking cartoons a little bit too much.
Yeah, and I think it's not that easy to hit a moving target. Especially, it's not like they were 20 meters from the point when they were shooting at. So it's possible, and also they were firing too. When
That's not just
when they are passing those
true,
places.
And they are stuck in spot.
So probably, some people were killed would be killed if they were passing this place. But they would save the whole armada or the whole, group of ships.
And
if they would stay in the same place, then they are, just a stationary target, and you can shoot at them and shoot at them and shoot at them. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
French citizens of Toulon were desperate to escape aboard the Allied ships, knowing that the Republicans would inflict terrible reprisals on the city. British and Spanish ships took as many as they could, about 14,000 in all, but scores were drowned amid chaotic and desperate scenes. Others were left to face the wrath of the revolution. Republican troops entered the city the next morning, and executions and firing squads began almost immediately. For the next 2 weeks, about 200 were executed every day. Allied propaganda later blamed Bonaparte for the atrocities, but there's no evidence he was directly involved. France's young republic was now fighting back on all fronts. And with the fall of Toulon, the Allies had lost a golden opportunity, a chance to stir up further revolt, deal a lasting blow to French naval power, perhaps even overturn the revolution. But instead, the French Republic had weathered one of its greatest storms. In no small part, thanks to the remarkable judgment, energy and courage of one 24-year-old artillery officer, now promoted Brigadier General in recognition of his extraordinary service at Toulon.
Was it so important to mention his age?
I saw the stab too.
Napoleon Bonaparte had taken his first step on the path to greatness. And for Europe, 21 years of almost constant war awaited. Our sponsor, Osprey Publishing, has nearly 200 titles on the Napoleonic Wars alone, written by specialist historians and covering everything from the history of elite units to tactics, weapons and uniforms. Visit their website to find out more.
I really liked it. If you guys enjoyed the reaction, then I would be happy to see the next installments.
Yeah, this one was very nice.
It was really pleasant. I don't know, and what I said
no
before...
No contradictions this time. Very good.
But about the major thing, right?
No, I think he was promoted. They just didn't mention it.
But I really liked it. I really liked the music. And indeed, it has a little bit of the vibe from the old, not old, but the commentaries that I used to watch on the TV.
Documentaries.
Yeah, like BBC documentaries, or even the ones that, I would watch like on the Discovery Channel, the National Geographic Channel. It's just really, it felt really nice. And I think they're also the perfect length. I wonder how much longer the other ones are, because I know the compilation is long, but I think they are similar lengths, like up to half an hour at most, I think. And I think that's also the very good time, because it would be difficult to hold focus for longer with this seriousness. But it's really nice. And I actually think I retained a lot of information from it, because it's not always like that for me when I watch a history video. But I don't feel like I zoned out at any point.
Yeah, and I think the maps are doing a great job here, because it's always easier to focus and to store the information in your head when you have like a visual cues, like maps, for example, and you can see the units, marching, moving positions, charging at some forts, some places, instead of just being delivered, dry facts that they attacked here. Then they came here, and so on and so on.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to say, when they were showing how they were attacking them on the maps, I actually felt like the tension because of the music and his voice and everything. And I could imagine what was happening, and it felt real, even though it was just some blocks moving on the map.
I want to say it's amazing that he was 24 years old and he was only captain.
Yeah.
So he was like fresh out of the military school.
But they listened to him.
Yeah, but they listened to him because he was in command.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't, but there was the general, and after the general, I think there was Napoleon. But that he was able to have those ideas,
Yeah.
like, and how ahead of his time he had to be to succeed in fighting whole Europe during 20 years.
Yeah, I was thinking it's not coincidence, I guess, it's brilliance, but even the fact that this is the first time he was given a chance, and how many times in life it happens that, you're given the chance for the first time, but maybe this could have been a more difficult battle even, or something that he could not be able to think about. But it happens to be the one battle that no one saw the solution, and he saw it, and I know he did it repeatedly later, so of course it's due to skill, but still, that it was this one, and the success was so amazing.
Yeah, but exactly the what I'm talking about is the skill. The skill you had to have to be able to convey those plans.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, how about we go here, we take this port, and from this port we will be able to force them to change the positions.
Yeah, because it's not only that you have a gut feeling or you have like a kind of an understanding of how it works, but you can also, like I said, you can relay it to other people, and you can convince them that this is what you have to do. You can put like arguments behind it and show how it's gonna work. You have to be really an awesome strategist to be able to do that.
Yeah, but also how you had to think outside of the box, because you have experienced soldiers. I mean, yeah, they mentioned that they didn't have that many experienced soldiers.
But still, you have all that knowledge.
But later he had those ideas again and again and again, and at this point he already had a lot of experienced soldiers, and still he was the one who was like outmaneuvering the enemy at every point.
Yeah.
Because the Germans or the English or the Italians, they had experienced soldiers.
Yeah.
And still he was like 10 years, 100 years,
Ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you very much.
A very nice video. And like Veronika said, if you have any recommendations from this channel
or any other historical channels, then you can drop them in the comments. But otherwise, if you want us to continue with this series, then I think we will. But we will see how it goes and if you guys like this video or not. I think that's it. But remember that we're launching the new movie channel, so you can stay tuned for that and have a look at it if it's already out there. And have a look at our Patreon. And if you want to force us to watch a video, then check out the Patreon. Check out Patreon, yeah. You don't need to have the highest tier, to force us to concrete video, but there are polls. Yeah. You can vote in those polls, and that way we will watch those videos that you want us to watch. At this moment there is one video every week on this channel and one movie every month from your recommendations. Basically, what you choose, we will watch. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Bye.